Now let's talk about what is Vue.js. So as Vue.js.org says, it is approachable, performant and versatile. Alright, so basically one thing is clear, it is some good things about a framework they are talking about, so must be good to use. But again, doesn't make sense to us yet. Let's go to the first principles of web development, and from there we will come to the Vue.js and understand what exactly is this thing. So remember your first experience of creating web application. So let's say you created a user interface, right? So you are showing some product, some name, price, add to cart, anything you are doing. Maybe there is some nav bar over here as well. So how did we guys created this in the beginning? Of course, the only way you can create a web page are basically HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Question number one, can a browser understand anything other than HTML, CSS, JavaScript? And the answer is absolutely no. It can only understand these three things, and that's how we get our web pages on the browser. But now when we come to something like framework, because this was very easy to do, right? Just create HTML file, link CSS file, link JavaScript file. So we kind of call this as a traditional view of JavaScript. So let's separate these two. This is traditional. And now we are into the world of something called as framework. So you must have heard about React, Vue, Angular, So let's talk about what these frameworks actually do. Remember, so there is a one step that goes behind this, which is not happening in the traditional way. So what happens is, first this frameworks allows you to set up a project. So let's say you set a project looks like this. Inside you have multiple folders, so you might have heard about something called as components, something called as scripts, then styles, and also the main thing package.json. So package.json contains all the things that you are using in your project. So basically what they do is they first provide you a structure, like okay, this is how it looks like, please write your code inside this. Now what is the benefit of framework? When you write a code in a structure, it basically allows them to transform it into a web application. But before running into a web application, remember that every web application is HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So what they do is they take all of these files and they kind of output us these three things: HTML, again CSS and JavaScript. And once you have these three files, of course running it onto the browser, it's not a big deal because browser can understand. So then what's the difference between these files and these files? Remember, these files we have written it from our side, so it actually depends upon how a developer is expert in in writing front-end user interfaces. If developer is not that ready, maybe of course the code will not that be optimized, not that be performant, might be lagging in some cases. But who is writing this HTML, CSS, JavaScript? What we are writing is happening here. This is where our game is happening. This is where we are writing all our code, right? So this is being generated by whom? This framework. So framework has some build tool layer, they have this program that does this mini conversion job for them. In Vue it is called as white, but right now let's call it Vue. Vue is doing all of this. Now remember, Vue is a proper framework, proper way to create front end user interfaces, and that's why the output files that are coming, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, what they have this following qualities: they are performant, they are really fast because the code is optimized. The code is also compressed in a sense that, let's say you have a 10 KB of HTML, CSS, JavaScript code, and if you somehow provide it to the Vue and ask you, can you please convert it into your HTML, CSS, JavaScript, it can actually shed out 2 KBs, 3 KBs, or maybe even 5 KBs from that code. And if that is happening, that basically means it is a lightweight code, and browser will really love a light code. And finally your browser will be happy. Okay, so this is your browser. Now it is getting very performant, not performant is the latest stage, but it is actually getting the optimized code which is browser friendly. And what about our experience? What about developer? Developer friendly as well, because it is providing a structure where you can write the code, where you can organize code, where you can collaborate with other people just based on this wonderful structure it provides. So that's what Vue.js is. Remember, Vue.js is more about process, and traditional is more about just one action, just write HTML, CSS, JavaScript and run it. That's all. Vue.js is not like that, or any other framework. As a matter of fact, first you create a structure, you initialize a project using some command tools. Once this is done, you start developing it, you start writing the code, then you ask Vue, now the code is done, can you please run it into the browser? Then Vue will convert it into HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Why? Because the first principle of browser and website is browser only understand three things: HTML, CSS, JavaScript. It does not understand .vue is, it does not understand .jsx is, any of these fancy files. It is only workable till this point, that's all, not later on. And that's why it is a very, what do you say, in-depth process of making sure that both the browser and both the developer are happy and you get the best possible website. So that's what this framework does, and that's what Vue.js also does. Now we move to the next part, and we'll actually talk about what are the features Vue will provide us and how we can use that while building our online store application. And also remember, Vue versus React is also coming up, so see you guys there.